Thank you, Brett. For those academics in the room that have heard me speak about this for like eternity, I apologise. Today I'm talking about the 7th paper from my PhD, so that document just keeps giving. So I'm really today focusing on what my main research has always been about is the tax impacts of on small business cash flow. Before I start, I'm going to pay recognition early to Professor Tony Bracken, who started in the space, or that I'm basing some of my work on tax literacy scores for individuals, which then I have created tax literacy scores for small business owners. So the purpose of my research is obviously to investigate the literacy, the influence that literacy has on small business cash flow. And in this paper, I'm particularly looking at the relationship between small business owner confidence and literacy, and how whether, literacy influences confidence in carrying out cash flow management activities. Now, the reason, when we're talking about effective cash flow management, activities, we should be thinking about small businesses including things like keeping financial accounts, maintaining a business plan or a cash budget, keeping records of revenue and expenses and debtor and creditors, plus the maintaining of an inventory schedule. I'll just mention that that is excluded from my research, and that's because my research is based on service sector businesses. Okay. The reason for focusing on cash flow management and why I'm interested in that is for small businesses, it's been recognised as the most significant problem in countries including Australia, the UK and USA. Small businesses are less liquid than larger businesses, and they have more volatile cash flow streams than their larger competitors. They also tend to lack the power in trading relationships and will often experience situations where cash incoming or the cash flow from their trade partners are way past trading terms. Experts in the research that I've conducted and in another part of the research suggest that cash flow management is, for small businesses, it's extremely complex, and they struggle with that on a larger scale than any other non-tax related activity. So as I mentioned, I focus on the small Australian small service sector businesses. Particularly the reason for that is because they're such a large contributor to income, employment and business registrations in Australia. That means if I'm focusing on small service sector businesses, I'm excluding mining, manufacturing, farming, forestry and fisheries. All other businesses are included. And when I looked at cash flow management, I tried to determine areas of literacy, not just tax, that might impact that. So from there was 3 areas of literacy that I focused on then. The first one for business owners is called professional financial literacy, which is we have to have, as a business owner, a higher level of financial literacy than just normal individuals. And I only focused on 2 parts of that. And if you read through those, the reason being is because they really relate to cash flow management. So the understanding of financial statements and the preparation of a cash budget, and what my research is based on, the implementation and sustaining effective cash flow management processes. I also then included in computer accounting software, because in today's times, so much of our record keeping and reporting is done in the cash flow management system. Small business owners can get real-time financial reporting if they're up to date from their computer accounting software system without having to rely on experts, and they can carry out many of the activities for cash flow management in that system, provided that the software is correctly set up, of course. And they can record their transactions, all their transactions in there, and they have a record of their assets as well. From there, I also needed to include taxation literacy, obviously, because that's my area of research. The reason for the tax literacy is important for small business owners is I had already recognised in prior research that they have issues with determining what their tax liabilities are in their bank statements and in the cash they hold, and also low tax literacy can lead to non-compliance, whether that be intentional or unintentional. It can also lead to things like late payment penalties and general interest charges, and can cause increased compliance costs. So then why is confidence important? So confidence has also been recognised as a barrier to effectively managing cash flow, and in tax or prior tax research, small businesses have been found to be overconfident, which means they're limiting their uptake of new tax knowledge, and they're not staying abreast of how the changes might affect their business operations. And those business owners that may be overconfident may also have issues where it's inhibiting the growth of their businesses. There's an inability to recognise when they need to seek outside or external help to improve their knowledge. And also, if they're overconfident, it can also cause cash flow concerns and shortfalls in their operations. So I carried out a survey method, the survey methodology, which was actually the third part of my PhD. So there was a variety of sampling methods that went on in that, because small business owners are very difficult to get to engage in any research. So snowballing, convenience and stratified sampling. In the end, I had to use a completion rate, and that completion rate was 45%. 259 businesses started the survey and 116 completed it in totality. I was addressing 4 hypothesis statements all about small business confidence and literacy and the relationship. The first one being whether their confidence in implementing effective cash flow relates to their literacy, then whether their understanding of tax relates to literacy, confidence in operating computer accounting software systems relates to literacy, and finally, whether confidence in using financial statements to determine business health relates to literacy. To measure the literacy, I collected I questioned 43 different questions to give 4 different literacy scores. So there were 7 questions that related to financial statements, 10 questions that related to computer accounting software, and 26 tax-related questions. And from those 43 questions, I ended up with a financial statement literacy score, a computer accounting software literacy score, a business tax literacy score, and then I combined all those answers together, and I ended up with an overall literacy score. And this is partly where Tony's previous research comes in. I then, let's get past those, you can't read those anyway, but they're all my literacy questions. We ended up with this. So the results of the literacy scores found that small business owners had the lowest business tax literacy of all the scores, with a mean score of 10.89 out of 26 questions, or a mean percentage of 42%. Our highest literacy was in financial statement literacy, with small businesses answering 2 in every 3 questions correctly. Computer accounting software literacy was just above average, with a mean percentage of 55.2%. And adding all of that together, we ended up with an overall literacy score of an average literacy. So 50% was the overall literacy of the small business owners. I then grouped those into poor, low, medium, poor, low, basic, medium and high to determine where they sit as a group. And 35.4% of business owners had poor or low literacy, which means they were answering 16 questions or less correctly. 29.8% of business owners were in the basic group, which means they were answering between 39.5 and 58% of the questions accurately. And then we had 34.6% in the medium or high group, which is, they're above 60% of accuracy in those 2 groups. So then what I did with that is that's where confidence comes in. So for confidence, I started to question them about what they were confident in doing as far as their work goes in their general day-to-day dealings with their operations or small business operations. And the first one looked at whether their cash flow management activities were beneficial to their business. So the results suggest that small business owners aren't overly confident in the fact that they have adequate cash flow management activities. Only 72% of them suggested they were confident or very confident. In contrast, when I asked them about their confidence in whether they recorded accurate debtor and creditor and revenue expense information, 84% and then 86.9% they said they were confident or very confident. When I compare this confidence to literacy, it can be shown that for all literacy scores, there was a linear relationship. And there was, in fact, a significant linear relationship between overall literacy and business tax literacy. So the results suggest for these activities that small business owners are neither overconfident or underconfident. And it could then highlight those with lower confidence, which means they have lower literacy, should be encouraged to increase their knowledge in order to be able to implement better cash flow management activities for their business. I then looked at small business owner confidence in use and understanding of financial statements to determine current and future business performance. Small business owners had high confidence in determining business profit and business performance, which is obviously related to activities in the past. However, their confidence, that confidence was up in the 96.2% range for both activities, so they were either confident or very confident. When we compare that to determining cash inflow or cash outflow in the future, the confidence was not as impressive. So determining cash inflow, 71.8% said they were confident or very confident, and cash outflow in the future, only 68.9% suggested they were confident. When comparing cash business performance to our literacy or confidence and literacy, it suggests that, or the results suggest that in the most part, confidence cannot be explained by small business owner literacy, with the exception of overall literacy score and business tax literacy score with business performance and business profit. Right, so it suggests that those activities that they're engaging in are not related to the level of knowledge that they may have. So it may not, in short, mean that they're accurate in carrying out those activities. I then looked at confidence in tax systems. It's not surprising to me that small business owners are the lowest mean confidence for FBT. A lot of those engaged in the research had not or don't deal with FBT, although they were answering those questions even though they're not. And those with the highest confidence was related to goods and services tax, followed by followed by pay-as-you-go withholding, then income tax, and then superannuation guarantee. So what was interesting here is that it appears that small business owners have the most confidence in GST, which they carry out on a more regular basis. I also asked small business owners whether they were confident about how much tax was held in their bank account, and only 60% of small business owners suggested that they were confident or very confident in understanding how much was actually sitting in their bank. I then compared, obviously, confidence to literacy, and in all situations there was a linear relationship for all of the literacy scores and all of the tax systems. In fact, there was a significant relationship for overall literacy score and business tax literacy score and every tax system, which was interesting. So it suggests that small business owners are, again, neither under or overconfident when dealing with their tax matters. And those, hopefully, with lower confidence are then seeking help from external providers to carry out their tax activities. My final testing, obviously, of confidence and literacy was related to the use and understanding of computer accounting software. And I'll bring up the limitation in the research here. You'll see that I didn't actually use a Likert scale, which is bad. which I've obviously realised that after the fact. So I can't quite measure that exactly the same as everything else. I had to use one way ANOVA here, but the results suggest that so small business owners are very confident that the transactions recorded in their computer accounting software literacy is correct, with 87.5% agreeing here, whereas they're not as confident in using their computer accounting software to create reports, to set up their software system, or knowing that some accounts are linked to others. When I then compared this to our literacy, in general, the results suggest that confidence is not related to small business owner literacy when using computer accounting software, with the exception in most cases of computer accounting software literacy. So all of the activities except for one had a relationship with computer accounting software literacy, but as the results show, and financial statement literacy obviously had a relationship with how the chart of accounts is set up, and that some accounts are linked to others in the computer accounting software system. I think that's it. Limitations, as I mentioned, for the research is the small business owner CAS literacy was not obtained in an observation setting. We're relying on information giving or small business owners telling us what they suggest they do, and we're not looking at whether they're actually doing those activities. Also, I already mentioned the limitation in my collection of data in the computer accounting software confidence. And obviously, we're collecting sensitive information from small business owners that don't like to tell people anything. So often they will make themselves look better than what they actually are. Am I done yet, Brett? Am I still? Oh, 1 minute.
60 seconds.
Okay, so recommendations that I had is, when we're talking about use and understanding of financial statements, that a full tax offset could be provided for advice from external providers for up to an annual limit to increase knowledge about cash inflow and outflow. So, cash budgets and business planning. That before small business owners obtain an ABN, that they have to actually complete some educational modules with case studies about how different things will relate to their business and which way forward they would go. Obviously, they're not as or confident about how much tax is held in their bank account. So perhaps a portion of income should be separated into a separate bank account on a regular basis, which has been talked about for 22 years that I'm aware of, and we still haven't got there. And because people, for tax purposes, are more confident with GST, do we need to increase compliance activities? Right, that's it.